Emperor Paul of Russia had 9 children, all of whom made dynastic marriages, the first generation of Russian royals to marry with other kingdoms, namely Austria, Prussia, the Netherlands, and Württemberg. These were all alliances against Napoleonic France. But back in 1807, Paul's eldest son, Emperor Alexander I, actually formed an alliance with Napoleon at Tilsit. In 1809, Russia conquered Finland from Sweden, which it would control for a century. On March 31, 1814, Emperor Alexander I marched on Paris following Napoleon's defeat. Alexander attended the peace negotiations at the Congress of Vienna ending the Napoleonic Wars in person. He built the Alexander Palace, named after himself, in Tsarskoye Selo. It was the favorite residence of the last emperor Nicholas II, who was born there, as was his eldest daughter Olga. It was to be the first palace in which they were imprisoned during the Russian Revolution. Alexander's brother Constantine served as the commander of the Polish division and was involved in several battles against Napoleon's forces. His wife, Juliana of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, was the first of her prolific family to marry royalty, but he was abusive and they were the first Russian royal couple to divorce. Constantine then contracted a morganatic marriage for which he secretly renounced his succession rights to the Russian throne. So, when his elder brother Alexander I died in 1825, Constantine remained viceroy of Poland, while the crown of Russia passed to his much less popular younger brother Nicholas I, leading to the Decembrist revolt. Constantine's palace, named after him, passed to his nephew and namesake, and today is a presidential palace of Vladimir Putin. The next sibling, Alexandra, married Archduke Joseph of Austria in 1799 during the War of the Second Coalition. This was the only Romanov-Habsburg marriage, and because of her Orthodox faith, she was not buried in the Habsburg crypt, but in Urum, Hungary. Her sister, Elena, hereditary princess of Mecklenburg-Schwerin, died in childbirth at the age of just 18. The next sister, Grand Duchess Maria of Saxe-Weimar-Eisenach, was the mother of Augusta, German empress. The next sister, Catherine, was hastily married off to her cousin, Duke George of Oldenburg, so that she couldn't be married to Napoleon. She was devastated when he died of typhoid fever just 3 years later. She then fell in love at first sight with another cousin, William of Württemberg, and he hastily divorced his wife to marry her. Catherine died 6 months after the birth of her second child, the future Queen of the Netherlands, from complications of pneumonia. Catherine's youngest sister Anna was also Queen of the Netherlands and brought a large dowry. She was the only one of her siblings to not marry a German, and the only non-German Dutch royal consort until the present one. Nicholas I succeeded his much older brother Alexander I as Emperor of Russia amidst the Decembrist revolt. Nicholas helped Greece gain independence from Turkey and seized parts of the Caucasus from Qajar Iran. He also crushed the November uprising in Poland in 1831 and decisively aided Austria during the Hungarian Revolution of 1848. In 1851, the first railroad was constructed in Russia between Moscow and St. Petersburg. Near the end of his life, Nicholas led Russia into the Crimean War, with disastrous results. Nicholas's youngest brother, Grand Duke Michael, married Elena of Württemberg. His Mikhailovsky Palace has been a museum of Russian art since 1898. Kameny Island Palace was built for Emperor Paul, and Polish King Stanislaw August Poniatowski, Emperor Alexander I, and Grand Duke Michael and his daughter Catherine all lived here. It was used as a convalescence home for soldiers throughout the Soviet period, and is now being restored as the governor's residence. Emperor Paul was the only legitimate descendant of the Romanovs, so the dynasty was on the brink of extinction, but he firmly re-established it with the birth of his 9 children. Through them, he is an ancestor of the current kings of Netherlands, Sweden, Denmark, Spain, and United Kingdom, as well as the last kings of Romania, Yugoslavia, Greece, and Germany. The legacy of Paul's children lives on in the royal descendants and the palaces they left behind, like Alexander and Mikhailovsky.